Hey YouTube, Jimmy Lee, Tennessee here with another video for you. So as you can see, I'm sitting in front of my 2022 Ford Bronco Badlands with 2.7 liter EcoBoost. Now, when I first got this vehicle, it was making noises that I just was not accustomed to hearing. You know, being somebody with a mechanical mindset, when I hear a noise, usually I fixate on it and I obsess, over it. And these things were so new that we didn't really know what noises they were supposed to be making for a while, and we still really don't know. So today's video is going to be about that, about how to decipher what noises are normal, because I've taken this thing into the dealer several times because of noise complaints and been like, what is that? You hear that? And the dealer's like, honestly, we don't know if it's supposed to be making that noise. So I would have to find another Bronco with a 2.7 liter and listen to it, compare it to mine. And that's when I did identify some problems that I'm going to tell you guys about, some noises that were not normal. But that being said, let's get into this video, and hopefully this helps you guys to, I don't know, let you hear what a normal Bronco sounds like. Okay, so now that you guys have sat through my corny intro, I'm going to explain to you, before we start this thing, the 4 noises that are typical of this 2.7 liter, okay? That is going to be a ticking, 2 rattling noises, and a whirling noise, okay? So let's start with the ticking, okay? The ticking is going to be your injectors. You're going to hear a tick, 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 really fast, rapid succession ticking noise, and that's going to be from your injectors, and you might also hear that also from the high-pressure fuel pump, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about. But nonetheless, the other 2 are going to be your rattling noises. So there's 2 typical rattling noises, or 2, we'll say, just normal rattling noises this engine makes, and they originate from different places. Now, one rattle is going to be like a plastic rattle, the other is going to be like a metal rattle. Now, I'm going to show you where that is here in a second in the video, but one of the rattling noises is going to be originating from your exhaust, okay? Ford has used this like screen. It looks like a large screen that would be on like a window, right? And it's wrapped around a flexible part of the exhaust, and that thing actually rattles whenever you're barely revving or just barely backing up or going forward and the engine's kind of under load. You'll hear like a rattle, okay? I'm going to show you guys how I fix that and show you where it originated. But the second rattling noise is going to be coming from the PCV breather, okay? So on the engine, if you look to the left side, you're going to see a PCV breather hose, okay? And it's going to run from the throttle body to the left valve cover, right? The left cylinder head. And it's like a little U hose, right? And on that hose, you've got like a brown plug, and that brown plug has a check valve in it, okay? And that check valve is like one little plastic ball, and that thing bounces and makes this crazy noise. I'm gonna let you guys hear in a minute. But you're like, what is that? Is that the timing chain? Is that, lifters? What's going on? You don't know what that noise is. If you're a mechanic or of a mechanical mindset and you like to listen to your engine, any noise is going to just, set you off, because you're going to go down these rabbit holes trying to figure out if it's normal or not. So that's going to cover the 2 rattling noises. Now the last noise is going to be a whirling noise. It's going to be like a whir. You're going to hear that. That is a characteristic of this transmission, okay? If you have an automatic transmission, you can't get the 2.7 in a manual so far as I know, but I think they're trying to implement that later. But if you have that whirling noise, that's normal because of the pumps and the just the bell housing of the transmission, okay? It makes like a loud noise on these 2.7s. So if you hear that whirling, and I have to do that with my mouth, sorry, so you guys can hear it, because cameras don't pick up everything when I start it. But yeah, so if you hear that whirling noise, that's coming from the transmission. So without further ado, I'm going to remote start this thing. Now, I do have a battery maintainer on it just because I don't drive it every day, and there is a lot of electrical draw on this battery from this Bronco. It has so much tech in it. It's just a huge draw to stay connected to the internet, so that you can use your Ford Pass and all that to stay online. But hold another video. So without further ado, I'm going to start this bad boy up. We're going to let you hear it. It's going to be loud at first, or louder, and you're going to hear it idle down. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like. Normal start and then idle down, so that you have a baseline to compare yours to. So I kind of forgot to mention, or it's kind of an oversight on my part, the Bronco will not start if the hood is up. It's like a safety feature, so I'm going to have to start the engine, pop the hood, and try to do that as quickly as possible so you guys can hear the initial start up, cold start with all the noises. Okay, here we go, and we are in the garage, so you're going to actually be able to hear a lot more of the acoustics. It's going to sound a lot louder. So you can hear a little bit of whirling coming from the transmission, and you can also hear that loud ticking we were talking about. And some of that's the injectors, and some of that is actually the high pressure fuel pump here. Now, as the engine idles down here in a few minutes, I'm going to let it run a bit. It's really going to get a lot quieter than this. So it has an initial high RPM rev to warm it up, then it drops down a little bit, then it drops down again. So there's actually 3 changes to RPMs, or 2 I should say. So it's actually going to idle down a lot more than this. You guys will hear a lot more of the sounds here soon. Okay, so it still hadn't idled down, but one of the sounds that we talked about, one of the rattles, is starting to appear. So I'm gonna let you guys hear what that sounds like, and it's coming from this U-hose here, to be precise, right here at the brown part, but I'm gonna let you guys hear it. Additionally, I'm also going to take a piece of pipe and put it down there so you guys can really hear it. I'm going to put the microphone to the phone, to the microphone of the phone. Put the microphone to the pipe so that you guys can hear it more precisely, and hopefully that works. Okay, so a piece of pipe or a jack handle is very useful in helping you to locate sounds. You can also use a piece of rubber hose. Just make sure you don't stick it near your belt, or get into your belt if you do. But see if you guys can hear this. Okay, so hopefully that captured that sound. That's one of those rattles I was talking about. It's what it is like a ball in there in a check valve. It's just bouncing really quick. It's like vibrating. It's more like a plastic vibration noise, but it's really loud, and you can actually hear it from outside the Bronco with the hood closed. So that was one of the rattling noises that was, a cause of concern for me. Now I'm gonna show you guys another rattle noise area. Okay, so the next rattling noise is actually directly under the Bronco. I found this because whenever I would pull up or go forward, it would make like sounded like an exhaust or a muffler loose, if you guys have heard that. But I'm going to show you that flex screen stuff. Give me a minute. It's kind of tight quarters. Packing for a trip in here. So, okay. So if you guys get under your Bronco and you locate this cross member here, there's a piece right, let's see if I can get to it better, back here, okay? If you guys can see this metal screen around this thing, right here, this is actually what was rattling. So what I did was take some electric fence wire, wrap it around it, and then twist it, and then cut it off. Now you could probably use like a band or hose clamp, might work better, but I just kind of snugged it up just a little bit, and that stopped that rattle completely. It wasn't a huge deal, but it just kind of sounded cheap to me, like when you see a car that's falling apart, or it's like a old beat up junker, and it's rattling because exhaust is all loose or broken or falling. That's what it sounded like. So I actually loosened that. Tighten that clamp around that, and it actually kept that from being loose. So the whirling noise, you might be able to hear it. There's another noise that I'm going to talk to you guys about at the end, but I'm not quite sure if that's normal or not, so we'll get to that. But if you guys can kind of hear that, that's the whirling noise I'm talking about, and that's originating from the transmission. Perfectly normal. So that, one of those first rattles, you guys can actually hear it a lot better now. It's a lot louder, but if you listen. Okay, and that is coming from this breather valve right here. But it got a lot louder, so I just wanted you guys to hear that again. Okay, so now that we've covered what noises are normal or typical characteristics of this engine, we're going to talk about the noises that are not normal, okay? So just to recap, the normal noises you're going to hear are the ticking of the injectors and the high pressure fuel pump, the 2 rattling noises / vibration noise coming from that PCV breather and from the exhaust, and then the last one is going to be your whirling, which is just the transmission pumps and the torque converter and all that, just making a lot of crazy noises, just a whirling noise. Those are the normal noises, okay? So the not normal noises, now let's talk about those. So we're talking about rattling on an engine. We'll say a not normal rattling noise, right? Something that is indicative of a failure. We're talking about startup usually. On these EcoBoosts, and I have personally heard it in person, okay? When you start the engine and there is a and then it stops, that's going to be a noise that is not normal. When you hear a noise that just happens as soon as you start it for a few seconds and quits, That's something you want to look out for. That is going to be something not normal, and that's indicative of a failing timing system, okay? Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about, really two things. I don't know if you guys could hear in the video, but there was a tapping or knocking noise going on in this engine. I don't know if that is normal yet because, like I said, there's nothing to compare it to for me. I don't have another one of these Broncos sitting in the garage. Unfortunately, that'd be great. But I do have a similar noise on my 96 F-150 that has 250,000 miles on it. That has been making that noise for 17 years since I've owned the truck, and it has never given me a problem. But there is a similar knocking noise. Okay, so not sure if that's normal in this thing, but I will update you guys. If you guys have a similar knocking noise, please post your comments below and let me know so that I can be on the lookout for it, or I can be informed by you guys, the viewers. So the noises that are not normal. When I first got this Bronco, I went off-roading in it like everybody should do. Every Bronco owner should take these things off-road. That's what they're made for. So on that trail, I did go through a deep mud puddle. It was not deeper than what the Bronco's rated to ford, which we'll get into, but it was pretty deep, and it was very muddy, like a thick consistency, okay? Fast forward about 6 months. I had driven this Bronco to Gatlinburg. I had driven it everywhere, no problems. I'm out off-roading again, just on a dry road. Excuse me, hadn't went through any mud or anything, and my charging system had a fault. The battery light came on. My wife said, "What's that?" And I said, "We're getting ready to walk home because the alternator's failing." So went, did some research. Whenever I didn't have to walk home. I actually got the Bronco home, but I went and did some research before I called Ford, and I found out there was a TSB 22-something, which talked about the alternator needing a shroud put around it to keep mud out, to keep mud from getting in the brushes and causing it to fail. Now, since then, some of the newer Broncos have, I think they already have that on them from the factory, as well as the Rangers, because they use the same alternator. But I did go into Ford and talk to them about that, and they said, yeah, sure, there's a TSB. So they replaced the alternator, which was like $500-something just for the alternator itself, and put the shroud on it, free of charge. Fast forward another 7-8 months. Started hearing a strange kind of, I don't want to call it a squeal, but it was more like a rolling, I don't know, I wouldn't say roaring, a rolling, whirling noise coming from these, front of the engine. And I took it to Ford, told them about this noise, and I said, it sounds like to me that a idler bearing or something is on the fritz, right? Because I've been working on vehicles for 15 years, and I've heard bearings that are going bad or that have went bad, so I kind of know what they sound like. So when I took the vehicle to Ford, the shop foreman and 2 technicians agreed they did hear a noise. It didn't sound terrible to them. They told me to monitor it and let them know if it got worse. But that wasn't really an answer I was looking for, okay? So I got home one day on a whim, started being nosy, took the pipe, started listening around, and I isolated the noise to my idler pulley. It was failing. Now, I don't think it was failing because it got wet, because I never did any like serious fording of water. But I do think that it had a factory defect, maybe didn't have enough grease in it or something, started failing. And I didn't feel like leaving my Bronco with Ford for 2 weeks to get a pulley replaced. So I removed the intake hoses, ordered the parts from Ford. They were Motorcraft parts. Replaced all my pulleys in that area since I already had the belt off. And I actually kept the old pulleys just in case I'm out on a trail and one breaks or something. Then I'm going to have another pulley to replace it with, hopefully, because the old pulleys weren't completely seized, though they were on the fritz. But it should at least get you home off the trail. But nonetheless, that's it, guys. You spent enough time listening to my rambling. I hope this helps you guys with your Broncos. I hope that it's been informative. If there's something I didn't mention here, please let me know. If you guys have comments about the tapping or knocking noise, please let me know. It sounds like to me a lower rod knock, maybe because of the rod bearings or something, the connecting rods. Not really sure. If it gets worse, I am going to take it back and have it fixed. But yeah, it's been doing that for a while. I've driven it 10 hours with no problem. It didn't get any louder. And the second you turn on the AC, that noise stops. If you rev it up a little bit, it stops. So I don't know if it's like a detonation issue or rod knock, not sure. But I do know that my old truck's been doing it a long time, no issues. So it's not really alarming. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, guys. If you have any critiques, please let me know on how I can make my videos more interesting for you. Thanks for watching.